Aloha, dear friends. Welcome to the Sunday morning devotional program sponsored by the Spiritual Assemblies of the Baha'is of South DeKalb County and Sandy Springs, Georgia. It's wonderful to have all of you with us today. Across the globe, the teachings of Baha'u'llah, brought to us more than 150 years ago by His Holiness Baha'u'llah, its founder, whose name in Arabic means the glory of God, have inspired and continue to inspire individuals and communities as they strive to improve their own lives and contribute to the advancement of civilization. Baha'i beliefs address such essential themes as the oneness of God and religion, the oneness of humanity and freedom from all forms of prejudice, the inherent nobility of the human being, the progressive revelation of religious truth, a gradual unfolding of God's purpose with the appearance of each divine teacher, the development of spiritual qualities, which allows us to reflect the image God made us in, the integration of worship and service, with work performed in the spirit of service actually being accounted as worship in the eyes of God, the fundamental equality of the sexes, more widely evidenced in a setting of equal opportunity, the harmony between religion and science as an established fact, the centrality of justice in all human endeavor, the importance of education, particularly for children, and the dynamics of the relationships that bind together individuals, communities, and institutions as humanity advances towards its collective maturity. Again, welcome. We're pleased to have you all join us. We'll begin with opening devotions. Please mute yourself if you're not speaking, and silence your electronic devices if you are speaking. Thank you. Yasmin?
O my God, I beseech thee by the evidences of thy favor, to let me draw nigh to the sublime heights of thy holy presence, and protect me from inclining myself towards the subtle allusions of aught else but thee. Guide my steps, O my God, unto that which is acceptable and pleasing to thee. Shield me through thy might from the fury of thy wrath and chastisement, and hold me back from entering habitations not desired by thee. The bow.
Gwen?
O God, my beloved, my heart's desire, His Holiness the Baal.
Barbara, is there any way to zoom in on that? It's rather small. We'll have to move it as the person's reading since it won't cover everything. Kathy, could you help us with this one?
Okay. O God, my God, thy call hath attracted me, and the voice of thy pen of glory awakened me. The stream of thy holy. It might work best if this was smaller.
Yeah.
I'll start over. O God, my God, thy call hath attracted me, and the voice of thy pen of glory awakened me. The stream of thy holy utterance hath enraptured me. Thou seest me, O Lord, detached from all things but thee, clinging to the cord of thy bounty and craving the wonders of thy grace. I ask thee, by the eternal billows of thy loving kindness and the shining lights of thy tender care and favor, to grant that which shall draw me nigh unto thee and make me rich in thy wealth. My tongue, my pen, my whole being testify to thy power, thy might, thy grace, and thy bounty, that thou art God, and there is none other God but thee, the powerful, the mighty. I bear witness at this moment, O my God, to my helplessness and thy sovereignty, my feebleness and thy power. I know not that which profiteth me or harmeth me. Thou art verily the all-knowing, the all-wise. Do thou decree for me, O Lord, my God and my Master, that which will make me feel content with thine eternal decree, and will prosper me in every world of thine. Thou art in truth the gracious, the bountiful. Lord, turn me not away from the ocean of thy wealth and the heaven of thy mercy, and ordain for me the good of this world and hereafter. Verily, thou art the Lord of the mercy seat, enthroned in the highest. There is none other God but thee, the one, the knowing, the all-wise, Baha'u'llah.
Elizabeth?
O my God, the God of bounty and mercy, thou art that King by whose commanding word the whole creation hath been called into being, and thou art the all-bountiful. One, I can hardly see this. Could we raise the, now part of it is missing. Oh, good. Well, try to do this. Oh my God, the God of bounty and mercy, thou art the King by whose commanding word the whole creation hath been called into being, and thou art that all-bountiful one, the doings of whose servants have never hindered him from showing forth of his grace, nor have they frustrated the revelations of his bounty. Suffer this servant, I beseech thee, to attain unto that which is the cause of his salvation in every world of thy worlds. Thou art verily the Almighty, the most powerful, the all-knowing, the all-wise, Baha'u'llah.
Young Ting?
O Lord, I'm a child Enable me to grow beneath the shadow of thy loving kindness. I'm a tender plant. Cause me to be nurtured through the outpouring of the clouds of thy bounty. I'm a sapling of the garden of love. Make me into a fruitful tree. Thou art the mighty and the powerful, and thou art the all-loving, or the all-knowing, and the all-seeing. Abdul Baha.
Jamie.
I am the primal point from which have been generated all created things. I am the countenance of God whose splendor can never be obscured. The light of God whose radiance can never fade. Whoso recognizeth me, assurance and all good are in store for him. And whoso faileth to recognize me, infernal fire and all evil await him.
Matthew.
O son of dust, verily I say unto thee, of all men the most negligent is he that disputeth idly and seeketh to advance himself over his brother. Say, O brethren, let deeds, not words, be your adorning.
Yasmin.
O my servant, free thyself from the fetters of this world, and loose thy soul from the prison of self. Seize thy chance, for it will come to thee no more. The hidden words.
Joy gives us wings. In times of joy, our strength is more vital, our intellect keener, and our understanding less clouded. We seem better able to cope with the world and to find our sphere of usefulness. Thank you to all of today's readers. Next, we're going to listen to a healing prayer. If any of you wish to remember a loved one through this prayer for healing, please feel free to call out their names this time.
Dina Brusbach and Mary Freelove.
Yvonne Bowers,
Josie Reynolds,
Arias Wright Hewlett,
Deanna Schmidt,
Nushi and Rezana Skui.
Thy name is my healing, oh my God, and remembrance of thee is my remedy. Nearness to thee is my hope, and love for thee is my companion.
And next we have a musical offering.
O Son of Justice, whither can a lover go but to the land of his beloved? And what seeker findeth rest away from his heart's desire? To the true lover, reunion is life, and separation is death. His breast is void of patience, and his heart hath no peace. A myriad lives he would forsake. A myriad lives he would forsake to hasten to the abode, to the abode of his beloved.
Friend, friends, each week we're blessed to have a guest speaker, a guest presenter, share with us their insights on a particular topic. This week, we're honored to have with us Dr. Jamie Montague Fisher. Dr. Jamie Montague Fisher is a native Georgian who grew up among the Baha'i communities of Decatur, DeKalb, and Metro Atlanta. As a youth, she worked in the Baha'i Unity Center bookstore, and she sang with the New World Unity Ensemble in many Sunday devotional programs. Now, Jamie lives in Decatur with her husband and 7-year-old son, and typically participates in the activities of the Decatur Baha'i community. Professionally, she works in the field of transportation systems planning and operations with a focus on data and analysis. She is keenly interested in the search for both material and spiritual truth and how these relate to one another. Friends, please welcome Dr. Jamie Montague Fisher.
Thank you, everyone. I'm so happy to be here. As Stephen mentioned, I am no stranger to the Unity Center, so it's wonderful to be with you. And I recognize several faces and a couple of their faces in the recording. So hello to people who are already friends, close friends. I'm going to share some slides and let's see if I get it right here. Let's see. I also may want to share sound. Tell me if you, or just a thumbs up, if you can see my full screen over there that says searching for truth.
Yes.
Yes. Awesome. I'm seeing lots of nods as well. So this is definitely a dear topic to my heart. It's really a foundation. It's foundational to my faith as a Baha'i. Those of you who have, been around in the Baha'i community and seen those posters that say Baha'is believe in, the independent investigation of truth is usually listed among the first 5 to 10 core beliefs. And that's, of course, after the central teachings about unity. And for the longest time as a youth, this independent right and responsibility of every human being to become a seeker of truth for themselves has been one of my favorite Baha'i teachings. And by the way, I think it's possible you'll hear my 7-year-old here and there outside the door. So thank you for welcoming his sounds to our gathering. So this idea of seeking truth independently is relevant to, of course, spiritual truth. And it's also relevant to material truth. And so in my work, I focus a lot on what you might think about as material truth, because I'm collecting data from instruments that are out on our buses, instruments that are out on the roadside, things that are measurable in the physical world. But that's also what I've learned as a transportation professional. I won't talk a whole lot about work, but I'm just giving you some context to my interest here. What I've learned as a transportation professional is those data points really aren't so much about the physical world. They are, but they're not just about the infrastructure. They're not just about the buses. They're not just about the technology. They're about the people that use those things. And so my work has really helped me to integrate this search for truth through science, through data, and through analytics, and bring it back to this search for spiritual truth, which is made manifest in the world of being, in the relationships between human beings, in the way that we support each other as individuals, in our friendships, in our families, in our communities, in our societies. So as I go through this, I'm going to be quoting from the Baha'i writings. I'll also sing a little bit because that's how I connect deeply with the Baha'i writings, as I learn melodies that someone else has arranged, or I arrange melodies for myself. So you'll hear some of both of those. I might also share a YouTube video as I go along. And just in case there's anyone here who's relatively new to learning about the Baha'i faith and the central figures, or in case someone who's in that new relationship is going to watch this video later on YouTube, I just wanted to give a couple introductions before I start quoting extensively. So the first introduction is, of course, Baha'u'llah. Baha'u'llah is a title used by a man who lived in the 1800s in the Middle East. And the title means the glory of God. And Baha'is are followers of Baha'u'llah. And Baha'u'llah had a very bold claim to be the manifestation of God for the present age of humanity's development. And so when we think about that idea of the manifestation of God, we think about revealing the lessons that God wants humanity to learn in this stage of our development. And Baha'u'llah was very clear that we're not starting from scratch. We're starting from the foundation and the history of all of the revelations of God that have come to humankind in the past. And in fact, a few of the quotes that I'll share with you come from the Hidden Words. And so you can see the very little book. Of course, this is just a snippet of all of the teachings of Baha'u'llah, but I wanted to showcase the little book of the Hidden Words because he says this is basically the summary of the essence of all of the messages of the past upon which we are building. And so when we start with our search for truth, we're not starting from scratch. There are many who have learned before us. There are many who have taught before us. So I'm just going to read the opening of the hidden words written by Baha'u'llah, and this is from part 1 from the Arabic. This is that which hath descended from the realm of glory, uttered by the tongue of power and might, and revealed unto the prophets of old. We have taken the inner essence thereof and clothed it in the garment of brevity. So he's taken all of those volumes of teachings and holy books and clothed it in the garment of brevity, made it concise, as a token of grace unto the righteous, that they may stand faithful unto the covenant of God, may fulfill in their lives his trust, and in the realm of spirit obtain the gem of divine virtue. So we'll talk a little bit more together today about the gems of divine virtue, which many of you, of course, practice that process of uncovering those gems in yourselves and in others through the activities of the Baha'i community. And that's really the purpose of all of these teachings of the past and of Baha'u'llah's teachings for this day. The other introduction I want to make is of Abdul Baha, but before I get there, I want to say a little bit more about the vision that Baha'u'llah brings to humanity. He has this vision of a united world, and several of these ideas were shared at the beginning of our session today. But this idea of a united world, and that unity has a light of its own, and that unity is so powerful that it can illuminate the whole earth. As human beings recognize in each other the same creation of God, and we're able to come together in greater and greater levels of unity. So I think I will share one YouTube video, and I hope I've shared the sound appropriately, because this is a beautiful song where this idea of the light of unity is set to music by just adorable children and their mother. And so I want to share it with all of you in case you haven't seen it. Are you able to see the video here?
No, not yet. You probably have to stop share and then share the screen the video is on.
Got it. Okay, thank you. I will do that. Let's see here. I thought I was ready technologically. I see there's somewhere my meeting controls, but they are elusive to me.
If you hit escape, it should come
Well,
back.
I'm not in full screen.
Oh,
Well, I'll give you a preview, and what I'll do later, since it's not coming up easily, and rather than using our time, I'll make sure that I give links to the YouTube videos where these songs are online, and maybe we can ask the organizers to put them in the YouTube links below this video. I hope we can work that together. So the song, which is much more adorable when it's sung by these two little girls, goes, so powerful is the light of unity. And they combine it with this little light of mine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. It's very sweet. So this blending of Baha'u'llah's verses and the traditional song, This Little Light of Mine, is what I wanted to share. Because this happens with us whenever we're trying to integrate the teachings of religion, the teachings of Baha'u'llah with our own lives, is we combine it with what we're already used to. And we compare the knowledge that we're gathering from reading or discussion and new knowledge with what we're already connected with, perhaps through our culture, perhaps through our study. A couple other elements of the vision of Baha'u'llah, and really the promise he brings, is that the great oppressions that have befallen of the world in the past, the histories of racism and of sexism and, all of the awful things that have happened among humans, these are preparing it for the most great justice. And the fruitless strifes that happen between people, the wars that happen between nations, these will pass away. And so Baha'u'llah's bold claim is that through the teachings that he's sharing with us at the manifestation of God, we will come to our next stage of maturity as a global human family and achieve that vision that has been shared really by so many prophets and messengers and religions of the past, which is that we'll have that time, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven, that connection, that peacefulness, and that unity. There's a great song that I'll share, hopefully as a link later as well. It's put out by the Badashed Project that connects these last two quotations. And they say, these great oppressions that have befallen the world are preparing it for the advent of the most great justice. These fruitless strifes, these ruinous wars shall pass away, and the most great peace shall come. The most great peace shall come. If you don't know the Badashed Project, it's a fantastic musical collection. So I hope you'll be able to look it up. So Abdu'l-Baha, that's the second introduction I want to make today. In case anyone isn't familiar with him, I'll share a few slides later of some progress that's being made on his shrine, his final resting place, which is currently being built in the Holy Land. The image you see at the top of the slide here is an aerial view of the design concept. And if you notice, that's the ground that we're looking at. And then there is going to be a place underneath where you can visit a building, a structure. And the design is supposed to complement Abdu'l-Baha's character in terms of someone who's very humble and at the same time immensely radiant. And so Abdu'l-Baha was the son of Baha'u'llah. Baha'is look to him, because his father told us to, as the perfect exemplar, the perfect example of following Baha'i teachings. His title that he chose for himself, Abdu'l-Baha, means servant of glory or servant of Baha'u'llah. And he shared his father's troubles his whole life. He was just, I think, 9 years old or maybe younger when their whole family was exiled from Persia, from their native land. They were exiled to Baghdad. They were exiled farther and farther, eventually to the prison city of Akka, which is in that vicinity where Baha'u'llah and Abdu'l-Baha both ended their lives. And Abdu'l-Baha, as he was growing up, he was not a manifestation of God, but he was educated directly by the manifestation of God. And they shared their lives so tightly that there really couldn't be anyone else on the planet with as much intimate knowledge of what it means to follow Baha'u'llah's teachings. And Abdu'l-Baha worked as his father's representative as he got older. As you may know, when they were living in Persia before all of the tribulations really began, Baha'u'llah was known in their region as father of the poor. And his wife, Abdu'l-Baha's mother, Nabab, was known as the mother of consolation, because although they had at the beginning relative wealth, they did not spend their time just enjoying that wealth or increasing it. They spent their time interacting with the people of the community, helping the people who were impoverished and in need in the community, befriending them. Later on, once Abdu'l-Baha and his parents and some of the other Baha'is were in the prison city of Akka, and Baha'u'llah was very famous and many people wanted to come and meet with him and learn from him. And Abdu'l-Baha had taken over that mantle. The people in Akka called Abdu'l-Baha father of the poor, because he spent, even on his own wedding day, he went out and served the poor and the sick in the community in order to carry forward that practice and that work of building a community. So that's a little bit about Abdu'l-Baha, and I'll be sharing some of his words today as well. So this first quote that I really want to focus on is that truthfulness is the foundation of all human virtues. And that's a quotation from Abdu'l-Baha. And he goes on to say more about it. Without truthfulness, progress and success in all the worlds of God are impossible for any soul. But what is truthfulness? If I break apart that word, it's being full of truth. So you could be full of different things. And in order to build our human virtues, Abdu'l-Baha tells us we need to be full of truth. So how does something get full of something? First, you have to find the something and put it in, like a glass of pure water starts out as perhaps empty and gets filled up with pure water. And then if it's full, then nothing else really fits. If something else tries to get in, then the truth just spills out. And if anything is coming out, it's whatever is full in that vessel. So truthfulness, being full of truthfulness. So in order to become full of the truth, that just doesn't happen necessarily on its own. You have to search for the truth again. You have to understand or internalize the truth. That helps us become full of the truth. So that's study, that's the honing of our understanding of what we've been studying through action and practice, testing ideas. And then we also have to share the truth that we've become full of, share and act on that truth. So just a little bit more about my work. This is relevant to my work as an analyst. In terms of searching for the truth, I mentioned I work with a lot of data that comes from various technologies that are out in different places in a transportation system. And that data, across many industries, we're in this position which some people like to call DRIP. It's an acronym: data rich, information poor. So much data is available that it takes so much effort to sort through. And if you don't use that effort, if you don't dedicate those resources to search through the data, you may not glean the information, you may not glean the knowledge or the understanding that it could provide you. So searching for the truth, getting the data is just the first step. You have to seek to understand that truth. And Abdu'l-Baha goes on to say that each human creature has individual endowment, power, and responsibility in the creative plan of God. Therefore, you must depend upon your own reason, your own judgment, and adhere to the outcome of your own investigation. And otherwise, you will be utterly submerged in the sea of ignorance, deprived of the bounties of God. So I'm going to delve a little bit more into this idea of truthfulness and where it becomes manifest in our lives. And then I'll talk a little bit about the idea of the foundation. How does truthfulness function as a foundation? So Baha'u'llah says in a tablet called Tarazat, it was revealed after the Most Holy Book. Taraz means ornaments. The first ornament revealed by God, Baha'u'llah says, is that human beings should know ourselves. So if we are searching for truth of any kind, we have to figure out how we are going to relate with that truth. We're going to figure out how we're going to act on it. So we have to know ourselves. We have to know our strengths. We have to know our limitations. And it's important, though, that we, I think, don't get distracted by our limitations too much, because Baha'u'llah says, know yourself and also regard every human being as a mine rich in gems of inestimable value. That means you, that means me, every human being. That's what Abdu'l-Baha has clarified. The word man in the Baha'i writings refers to each one of us, regardless of gender, regardless of race. Regard every human being as a mine rich in gems of inestimable value. You can't even imagine or estimate how valuable those gems are inside of you. So don't sell yourself short. It's important to know your limitations, but it's also important to know your strengths. And along those lines, in the hidden words, again, Baha'u'llah has said on behalf of God, I have perfected in every one of you my creation. So there's another song that I ran across on the Baha'i blog that I really, really loved in this. I found it earlier this year. I have perfected in every one of you, my creation, so that the excellence of my handiwork may be fully revealed unto men. So he doesn't just say that the gems are inside of you, that the perfections of God's creation are inside of you, but also that they're meant to be revealed, so that the excellence of my handiwork may be fully revealed unto men. And the song, which I'll hopefully link later for you, it goes on from another quote that talks about the importance of love. And because we know that those perfections are inside every one of us, we can recognize them in ourselves, love ourselves, appreciate the creation of God, the perfection of God inside ourselves, and also search for the truth of those perfections in others. I have perfected in every one of you, my creation, so that the excellence of my handiwork may be fully revealed unto men. Love is light in every house where it may shine. And you'll hopefully go hear the polished version, which is on Baha'i blog on YouTube. So as we're thinking about that perfection, again, though, those gems are in the mind. We don't necessarily have them out polished, ready to share all at once. And I love this idea of the mind. It's one of the many examples where the Baha'i writings compare a human reality, spiritual truth, to a physical reality or a physical truth. In this case, gems in a mind, virtues in the human spirit. Another example of that is so many places in the Baha'i writings where people are compared to plants. So the flowers of one garden, that's a very common image. The waves of one sea, there are other natural images that talk about unity. But this idea of a plant that grows and matures is really throughout the Baha'i writings, talking about individuals and talking about societies as well. Sometimes the individual as an analogy for the society or vice versa. So there's a beautiful Baha'i prayer that's often found in children's prayer books that starts, I am a tiny seed. You probably have heard this song of it, at least some of it. I've added a little bit at the end because I found this part about the search at the end. If you've heard the song, it starts, I am, oh my God, a tiny seed. It continues, thou hast sown in the soil of thy love and caused to spring forth. So we're basically acknowledging that God has created us as something capable of growth. And then it goes on to talk about what we need in order to grow, that search for support, that search for understanding. This seed craveth in its inmost being the waters of thy mercy. So a seed, in order to grow, needs something else. It needs the soil of love. It needs the waters of mercy. So you probably know this song. Maybe you'll sing along, although you're muted. And actually, I'm going to try something maybe a little tricky. We'll see if it works out, because there's a part that I like to harmonize, but if I'm the only one singing it, I need a recording. So I don't have one of those fancy tools that allows me to do this very cleanly. We'll see how it goes. I am, oh my God, but a tiny seed which thou hast sown in the soil of thy love, in the soil of thy love, and caused to spring forth, by the hand of thy bounty, oh my God, oh my God. This seed craveth, therefore, and its inmost being, for the waters of thy mercy and the living fountain of thy grace. I am. Oh my God, oh my God, but a tiny seed which thou hast sown in the soil of thy love, in the soil of thy love. This seed crieth, therefore in its inmost being, for the waters of thy mercy, the living fountain of thy grace. This seed crieth. Wow, it was a try. So thank you. That's sweet of you. So what is that water of God's mercy? What is that living fountain of God's grace? I think part of it is the capacity to learn that he's given us, the capacity of a mind to investigate truth. And the second ornament, Baha'u'llah says, the first ornament is know yourself. The second ornament is really about valuing each other. It's about consorting with friendliness, in particular, with the people of all religions. So that when we're talking about spiritual truth, we have very specific guidance in the Baha'i teachings, not to prefer ourselves because we're Baha'i, but to really prefer all religionists before ourselves, and to consort in friendliness with all people. We need to value each other. We need to recognize that we're not starting from scratch here, and that we can work together in that sense. And when we're preferring all religionists before ourselves, that I think also can include people who are not religious. We can think of people who may be telling us something valuable scientifically, or based on their experience, and really understand that there may be something there we can learn from. And in fact, Baha'u'llah is very explicit that science and religion need to be harmonious with each other, and there are two different ways to understand the world. And so we have, or rather, two complementary modes of understanding the world and searching for truth. And so we have a responsibility in investigating the truth, again, of physical reality as well as spiritual reality. And that includes seeing the value in other people, no matter what perspective they're coming from. And so when we think about regard man as a mind rich in gems of inestimable value, and I have perfected in every one of you my creation, that means we recognize that, again, not only in ourselves, but in others as well. So in the Baha'i teachings, there's a high value put on a particular practice in this mode, and that's the practice of consultation. And so when we're called as Baha'is to consult, when we're called on as Baha'is to consult, that means that we're looking to others for new ideas that may be different from our own. And we are finding how those ideas compare with our own, and then coming up with something new. And Abdu'l-Baha says that shining spark of truth cometh forth only after the clash of differing opinions. And moreover, he says that the maturity of the gift of understanding is made manifest through consultation. So in order to internalize this truth of what is consultation, I have a melody that I arranged about consultation. And so this is more context of that particular quote. It goes, consultation bestoweth greater awareness. It transmuteth conjecture into certitude. Consultation bestoweth greater awareness. It transmitteth conjecture into certitude. You might hear my son, he's outside the door singing along with me. Do you want to come sing with me? Yeah. Okay, I'm going to invite him in. And then will you go out again? Will you come sing with me? We're on camera. You want to? Mm-hmm. Okay, ready? Ready? Take your lollipop out. Ready? Consultation, bestow with greater awareness. It transmutes conjecture into solitude. Consultation, bestow with greater awareness. It transmutes conjecture into solitude. For everything there is and will continue to be a station of perfection and maturity. Hold on, perfection and maturity. Perfection and maturity. The maturity of the gift of understanding is made manifest in consultation. Thank you. Go out. Bye. Thank you. They're clapping and waving. Please go out. Thank you. So we learn to consult with our children as well. Stay up. Or okay, he might stay here. So I think I'm wrapping up soon with the slides anyway. So in order to really focus on this idea of finding truth, internalizing truth, and then we're full of truth, we have truthfulness, we can share that search for truth. That looks like providing education to others. And so there's a lot of the activities of the Baha'i community are focused on education of children, of junior youth, of adults, youth and adults. This one often is in a children's class on Sundays, for example, but not today. This quote of regard man as the mind rich in gems of inestimable value continues to say that education can alone cause it to reveal its treasures and enable mankind to benefit therefrom. So what is this idea of truthfulness as the foundation? The next few images all come from the foundation work of the Shrine of Abdu'l-Baha. So we can just have an idea in our minds of what foundation really means.
I know.
Okay. Do you know that this is the foundation of Abdu'l-Baha's shrine here?
Yes, a foundation is a place, something that keeps a building up.
It helps to keep the building up. That's right. But it's not just one layer, right?
It's lots of layers, and it goes down deep into the ground, and it's also really big.
It is. Yeah, it can be really big. It has to be strong enough to support the whole building. So if truthfulness is the foundation of all human virtues, then our truthfulness has to be pretty deep and strong. So these are just a couple images from the work that's been done at Abdu'l-Baha's shrine. The foundation of it, it included, what did I see there? 4 cranes doing that work, lots of people doing that work. And so when we're talking about the foundation of what, a couple examples of gems of divine virtue might be kindness. So if we look at the hidden words again, you might want to sing with me again, you think so? If we look at the hidden words again, the very first hidden word right after, I don't understand what you're saying, but I'm trying to focus on my talk.
I want this to be on that side.
Oh, I see. Okay. The very first hidden word is about kindness. Right. Thank you. So, you know this one, right? O Son of Spirit. So he says,
O Son of Spirit.
O
Son of Spirit. O Son of Spirit. My first counsel is this. My first counsel is this. Possess a pure, kindly, and radiant heart, that thine may be a sovereignty, ancient, imperishable, and everlasting. Ancient and perishable.
So that's the first counsel that Baha'u'llah says is the summary of the essence of all the teachings of the past that we're building upon.
That's not you.
That's not me. No, that's a friend of mine.
So why is he talking?
Technology is a mystery sometimes. The second hidden word is
Oh,
about
no
justice.
problem.
Do you want to help me with this one, or shall I sing it on my own?
No.
On my own. Okay. So I have a melody. The last melody was not my own. This next melody is one that I arranged for myself in the last year, because justice is something that this nation and this world
Justice.
is entirely
Justice.
struggling with right now,
Justice.
Especially-
Where was justice?
especially racial justice, as we're searching to
Justice.
overcome, the most challenging problem of our nation, which is systemic racism and the problems that it has
Where was
caused.
justice?
Good question. So he has a friend named Justice as well. So
Yeah.
I'm going to put you down so I can sing it more clearly, okay?
Together.
Let me sing it first and then we sing it together, okay?
No. Together.
Together. Together it is. Walking together on this path of service. The best beloved of all things in my sight
Is
justice. Turn not away therefrom, if thou desirest me. Neglected not that I may confide in thee. By its aid thou shalt see with thy own eyes, and not will the eyes of others. Thou shalt know of thine own knowledge, and not by the knowledge of thy neighbor. Justice is verily my gift to thee, and the sign of my love and kindness. Ponder in thy heart how it behooveth thee to be. Set it then before thine eyes, set it then before thine eyes, set it then before thy eyes, O Son of Spirit. Set it then before thine eyes, set it then before thine eyes, set it then before thine eyes, O Son of Spirit. Yes, so, thank you. Okay.
Oh, come here.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for welcoming him and your joyful smiles. So truthfulness, how is truthfulness the foundation for kindness and for justice? In terms of kindness, we'll go back here. Truthfulness, in order to be kind to someone else, you have to value your own strengths and limitations and look for their reality. Seek to understand them as a friend and show kindness to them. Some of you might be familiar with the 5 love languages, which is a pretty popular book for teaching couples how to show love to each other. And there's this idea that it's not just about how you want to show love, it's about how they understand your love. And so you have to understand the reality of the other human being, search for that truth of their reality. In order to show kindness, you have to search for truth. For justice, in terms of racial justice, as I mentioned, which is the most challenging thing facing this country, and if we can, Lord, if we can solve the problems there, we will be propelling ourselves toward that vision of a unified and peaceful world that Baha'u'llah has promised. In order to enact justice, you have to clearly understand the problems, which means you have to learn from the people who experience the problems. You have to learn from the people who have studied the problems. And you have to then find the root cause of the problems. And this is another practice that has been relevant to my work, is root cause analysis. If there's some issue that we're seeing, is there more data that we can dig into a little bit differently, a little bit deeper, slice it a different way, and really understand, okay, where is that problem coming from? Because if we try to solve a symptom, it's just going to maybe mask the symptom for a while. It's not going to solve the problem in a sustainable way. And so the search for truth when it comes to social issues like racial justice, gender discrimination, and so many of these other issues that, Baha'u'llah didn't say this was going to be easy. He just said we can get there with these teachings. We have to search for truth in order to become full of the truth, full of the knowledge and understanding, in order to act on it, in order to create justice in our societies. And then at the same time, Abdu'l-Baha talks about the importance of being joyful. So in a lot of the Baha'i writings, that acknowledge there's that acknowledgement of the hardship. There will be hardship in life. There's this great prayer that I love that says, "Refresh and gladden my spirit." Even though there's hardship in life, let me feel refreshed. Let me feel gladdened. That is on my own journey in the company of others. And this quotation really touched me when I first read it, and it was shared actually in the context of reading the writings of the faith, reading sacred verses. Basically, read the verses every day, but don't burden yourself by trying to just read them because you think it'll be making you pious. You have to read them so that you can fly, so that you can be lightened by them and fly on the wind that those divine verses provide, that help you act in the world in a way that's not burdensome to yourself. So I set this one to music as well. Lay not upon your souls that which will weary them and weigh them down. Lay not upon your souls what will weary them and weigh them down. Rather what will lighten and uplift them, that they may soar on the wings of the divine verses. Rather what will lighten and uplift them, that they may soar on the wings of the divine verses. Toward the dawning place, toward the dawning place, toward the dawning place of his manifest signs, toward the dawning place, toward the dawning place, toward the dawning place of his manifest signs. This will draw you. This will draw you, this will draw you closer to God. This will draw you, this will draw you closer to God. Did ye but comprehend? So when we're searching for truth about ourselves, we need to know our limitations but not get stuck on them. When we're searching for truth about society, we need to understand the ills and really get into the root cause so we can fix it, but not necessarily dwell there with our spirits. Look for the truth that will help uplift you and help you uplift society. So that concludes my prepared talk. Thank you for welcoming me. I'm happy to talk more with all of you. Let's see if I can figure out how to stop sharing my slides.
There should be a bar on your screen somewhere.
Yes.
With several buttons, and one of them will be the stop share button.
Yep. Somewhere there is this bar. I see that it exists and somehow I can't get up to it. Can you steal the screen share from me and then just end it?
I don't know. Barbara, are you able to do that?
It might work if I just close the PowerPoint. Let me see if that works.
I don't think so. Oh, it did though. Excellent.
Because it was that window that was shared and not my whole screen. All right. Hi, friends. Bye, Matthew.
So thank you for your wonderful presentation. Do we have any questions, comments, or general sharing of thoughts to go on?
I see Elizabeth. Elizabeth, you're muted, friend.
Well, hello again, Jamie. I remember you when you were born, actually. And of course, I'm so happy that you guys carried on the Unities, the New World Unity Ensemble. I was with the first group, but I really loved your presentation. I love the way you put music to the verses because they mean so much. You can feel them in your soul when they're sung like that. And your son, how old is he?
He's 7.
Oh my God, he's good. I'm so happy to hear a child that knows the verses and can sing them. It's not shy. So, you know, when you get as old as me, you worry, how is the faith going to go on where other people? Well, your generation and his generation will bring it forth. So I love that, and I really thank you for being
Thank you.
here.
Any other questions or thoughts?
I was just lifted up by the presentation, and it's such a positive. I know a lot of those quotes, but the way you put them together just made it so powerful, and it gives us tools to reach out to the people we want to teach and share the faith with. And with those thoughts in our brain and in our hearts, it makes it so easy. So I just thought it was really a shot in the arm. Thank you, Jamie.
Anyone else? I myself was struck by the thought that your presentation of the process of independent investigation of truth could be really useful in talking with some people who are either more scientifically minded or simply skeptical, because it does emphasize this key principle of the faith that, you know, you don't do this just because somebody tells you to do it. Basically, you do it because you've investigated and come to it yourself and found the truth, you know, found it to be true. So I thought it was a very interesting way of approaching it.
Yeah, I really love the principle of consultation, and it's a lifelong journey to get better and better at it, I think. But what the teachings of the Baha'i faith really call us to do in consulting with others, and there's that phrase, consult on all things, consult in all matters, in consulting with others to help us in our own investigation of the truth. If we're in a gathering or a meeting with the goal of finding the truth about something, we put out our opinion or our understanding, at which point it no longer belongs to us as individuals. And that then you listen carefully to the perspectives of others, the knowledge that they all bring, so that as soon as there's another idea that has more merit, as an individual participating in this group, I have the privilege of accepting that new idea. It's a beautiful element of educational process that is not just teacher to student. It's not really about filling up the empty glass. It's like that quote about the mind rich in gems. It's about helping to polish a purer understanding of reality through consultation. And I think it's a fairly revolutionary idea. When Abdul Baha was in the United States talking about the Baha'i teachings and about what he's observed in the world, he talked about attending a session of parliament in Europe where people were just shouting over each other. And he said, this was not government, this was comedy. And that happens, of course, in our own country as well. And so he was really putting this model of consultation as the alternative for that. And it can be transformative. And by the way, that idea of the seed growing, the seed planted in God's love growing up, and that ability to grow, Abdul Baha also expounded on that when he was visiting the United States. I learned this recently. Of course, I'd heard that part of his talk, but I didn't realize that was a talk he delivered to the NAACP in Chicago. So when he was visiting Chicago, he made a talk to a group of women's clubs. He also made a talk to the NAACP where he had been invited by W.E.B. Du Bois. And in that talk, he focused on how humankind is made in the image and likeness of God. And he cited the Bible verse that talks about that. And he emphasized we're not talking about a physical image because, of course, the NAACP was struggling, or I should say working, to to establish the reality in people's minds that it's not about our bodies, it's not about what we look like, it's not about our color that makes us in the image of God or valuable in society. And so he really emphasized that point. And he said it's about the growth of the human being to show divine perfections. And in every seed, there is the latent potential of the whole tree. And in that same way, in every human soul, there's the potential to show the perfections of God that have been endowed in each one of us. And I just love that he talked with the NAACP, and apparently W.E.B. Du Bois was a longtime admirer, and his wife was affiliated with the Baha'is. And Abdullah's whole talk at that conference was posted in the national newsletter of that organization.
That is interesting. I've thought a lot about Du Bois over the last year, because at the end of a very long book of his, there's a chapter in which he more or less, my own professional background is in history, although I'm not doing it professionally any longer, but as I was trained in. And he basically goes and shows, and it's the earliest I know of anyone doing anything like this, that the way the history is told by white historians is inherently biased against African Americans. And it's one of the earliest examples I know of someone basically pointing out systemic racism and how it perverts the truthfulness and the justice of our attempts to understand what's happening around us. He's a really interesting figure. Well, if there are no other comments or questions, I think we probably need to wrap up for today. So before we go, we have a few quick announcements.
It looks like
Today,
Ken might want to say something. I see Ken.
Do you want to,
You're
Ken?
muted, Ken.
You're muted though, yeah. The unmute button is on the bottom left of the Zoom sort of window there. I'm still not hearing anything. Unfortunately, I don't have control over to unmute you, so yeah, sorry. Barbara, you might be able to unmute him if you go to the participants list and right click on his name. I'm not the host, so I can't do that, unfortunately.
Who is it again, Stephen?
Ken.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Unmute.
There we go.
Now you got it. Okay. I just wanted to commend you, Jamie, on the extent to which your son is involved and participates with you and you with him. That's incredible. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's been a journey this year and a half or more of virtual meetings and working from home while he was in virtual school from home. And I'll say I've come a long way being comfortable with his interruptions, but I appreciate that. I knew this would be a welcoming group.
All right, well, let me go ahead and make these few announcements before we wrap up. Today's program has been recorded and posted to the YouTube channel entitled South DeKalb Baha'i Unity Center, where you can view it and invite others to view it as well. And for members of the Baha'i faith, you are warmly encouraged to make a financial contribution to the South DeKalb Baha'i Fund, the Sandy Springs Baha'i Fund, and the National Baha'i Fund through the online contribution system at ocs.baha'i.us, or to mail a check to the Baha'i Unity Center at 2370 Wesley Chapel Road, Decatur, Georgia, 30035. We want to give many thanks to everyone who worked together to make today's program possible. Our wonderful speaker, our volunteer readers, Barbara Hennix, without whom none of this would be going on, the spiritual assemblies of the Baha'is of South DeKalb and Sandy Springs, and of course, thanks to everyone who came here and shared your morning with us. So I'm Stephen Boynton, and until next time, stay safe and well. We're going to end now with a closing prayer for the departed.
Can we choose someone to say it?
Yes, we can. Would anyone like to volunteer? Or
I would like to volunteer. Oh,
That would be wonderful.
Today, my mother passed, yes, on the 30th of this
Oh,
month. And my father passed 20 years before her on this day.
hmm.
And also Elizabeth Martin from South Carolina,
Yes.
long time dedicated Baha'i. I think she was 94, passed
Hmm.
yesterday, if we could remember her as well. Thank you.
I can find the smaller one. Barbara, do you have a prayer? Because all I can find is the long one, and I don't want to read the long one.
Hmm. I might be able to pull something up too. Let me see.
I think I have something here, but that's kind of long too. Well, I'll just read it anyway. He is God, exalted is he, the Lord of loving kindness and bounty. Glory be unto thee, thou, O my God, the Lord omnipotent. I testify to thine omnipotence and thy might, thy sovereignty and thy loving kindness, thy grace and thy power, the oneness of thy being, and the unity of thine essence. Thy sanctity and exaltation above the whole of being and all that is therein. O my God, thou seest me detached from all save thee, holding fast unto thee, and turning unto the ocean of thy bounty, to the heaven of thy favor, to the day star of thy grace. Lord, I bear witness that in thy servant thou hast reposed thy trust, and that it is the Spirit wherewith thou hast given life to the world. I ask of thee, by the splendor of the orb of thy revelation, mercifully to accept from him that which he hath achieved in thy days. Grant then that he may be invested with the glory of thy good pleasure and adorned with thine acceptance. O my Lord, I myself and all created things bear witness unto thy might, and I pray thee, do not turn away thyself, the Spirit that hath ascended unto thee, unto thy heavenly place, thine exalted paradise, and thy retreats of nearness, O thou who art the Lord of all men. Grant then, O my God, that thy servant may consort with thy chosen ones, thy saints and thy messengers in heavenly places, that the pen cannot tell, nor the tongue recount. O my Lord, the poor one hath verily hastened unto the kingdom of thy wealth, the stranger unto his home within thy precincts. He that is sore athirst to the heavenly river of thy bounty, deprive him not, O Lord, from his share of the banquet of thy grace, and from the favor of thy bounty. Thou art in truth the Almighty, the gracious, the all-bountiful. O my God, thy trust hath been returned unto thee. It behooveth thy grace and thy bounty that have compassed thy dominions on earth and in heaven, to vouchsafe unto thy newly welcomed one thy gifts and thy bestowals, and the fruits of the tree of thy grace. powerful art thou to do as thou willest. There is none other God but thee, the gracious, the most bountiful, the compassionate, the bestower, the pardoner, the precious, the all-knowing. I testify, O my Lord, that thou hast enjoined upon men to honor their guest, and he hath ascended unto thee, hath verily reached thee, and attained thy presence. Deal with him then, according to thy grace and bounty. By thy glory I know of a certainty that thou wilt not withhold thyself from that which thou hast commanded thyself from that thy servants, nor wilt thou deprive him that hath clung to the cord of thy bounty and hath ascended to the dayspring of thy wealth. There is none other God but thee, the one, the single, the powerful, the omnipotent, the bountiful, Baha'i.
Aloha, friends. Thank you for being here.
Aloha. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you, Jamie.
It's so
Thank
good to
you.
see you all grown up.
Good to see all of you.